Part 6? Oh my god! Part 6? You gotta be kidding me! Hey guys, what's going on? This is your old pal CHH. I want to have some fun with you guys today. One of my favorite YouTubers and a good friend of mine, obviously Pizzle, has done some of these before, and I always get a kick out of them. And here I was earlier, getting ready to look something up for a video I was going to do, and sure enough, I got a link that popped up for Entertainment Weekly's Friday the 13th ranking. Now, I have not looked at this besides what was dead last, and when I saw what was dead last, I was like, okay, I want to react to this. I want to react to this with you guys and see the reasonings for whatever this person says for what's their worst to best. And like I said, when I saw what was dead last, I was like, okay, we're doing this. Yeah, we're definitely doing this. So without further ado, guys, we're going to go to Entertainment Weekly's article, and we're going to look at that ranking. Now, I will be fair. If I agree with their criticism, whether I like the film or not, or agree with its placing, if I can see where they're coming from, I will be fair. My biggest thing is this. I don't like it when people don't like a movie, but they can't tell me why. Or if it's just the basic stuff that everybody says of, you know what, the usual things. I don't like the characters. I don't like the pace of the movie. All that mumbo jumbo. If you can really tell me. And if you say it's boring, I can't argue with that. Boring to you is boring to you. I can't argue with boring. But anyway, guys, let's get into it. This is the Friday the 13th films ranked by Entertainment Weekly. And let's get to what's dead last. Friday the 13th, Part 5. A New Beginning at number 12. Okay, here we go. This is the only entry in this series that is genuinely skippable, which is a shame because it operates on a pretty interesting premise. The killer who is picking off the residents of a halfway house is actually an imposter posing as Jason, using his legend as a smokescreen, but it doesn't explore the psychological ramifications of using a legend for your own means, and features perhaps the dullest cast in the history of slasher flicks. Still, completists will want to sit through it, if only for the score, which is probably Harry Manfredini's best work in the series. That's interesting. First off, let's tackle the last thing he just said. Best in the series score. I've never heard anybody say that they thought Part 5 was Manfredini's best score. I think a lot of people would probably say it's the original, but at the same time, I do love the score for Part 5. You definitely know it when you hear it. It's got interesting cues and pieces that are identifiable to only Part 5. So even though I've never heard anybody say that, it's not something that if somebody said they thought it was his best, I guess I wouldn't necessarily just disagree or argue hard. Here's the other thing I want to talk about. It doesn't explore the psychological ramifications of using a legend for your own means. Okay, so that's actually an interesting thing to say. It doesn't use the psychological ramifications of using a legend for your own means. That's interesting. That could have been a way to go. But I argue that wouldn't really be something used for just a sequel slasher film based off of the movies that have come before it. Maybe, but then we're getting into becoming a psychological thriller film in a way. You could argue if you go into something like that approaches the film that way. Actually, an interesting way to look at it. I'm actually going to give credit to whoever wrote this. But this is the thing I vehemently disagree with. Features perhaps the dullest cast in the history of slasher flicks. That is asinine to me, and I'm going to tell you why. Not only do I disagree with that, but I think that Part 5 is the most quotable of all the Friday the 13th films. And I don't even think that's controversial to say. Part 5 is the most quotable. I go to conventions, I see t-shirts for Part 5, I see, God, you name it. Enchiladas, Solid, you name it. The soundtrack, dull. Whoever wrote this, I don't know if they've seen a whole lot of slasher flicks. And if that's the case, then maybe I can understand you saying that. Is part 5 the last in the series? Some people would possibly say this. For me, this is asinine. Part 5 is by far one of the most entertaining. So far, Entertainment Weekly is on 1. Let's see if I disagree with what's number 11. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Okay. I can see this one being low. Let's see what they say. As noted above, it's impossible to follow this thing, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Creighton Duke is a completely bizarre creation, and his various speeches about only a voorhees being able to kill a voorhees are the stuff of scenery-chewing legend. I mean, just watch this guy work. Okay, so I guess we'll know more when we go look at what their number 10 is. Listen, this is actually in line with even most of the Friday the 13th fans, I feel. I think a lot of people would say, no, I actually love Jason Goes to Hell, have a good time with it. But in my opinion, Jason Goes to Hell does not scale the heights of any of the Paramount Fridays. And clearly Entertainment Weekly doesn't have it above any of the Paramount Fridays. So this is actually pretty in line. But it's so interesting. Like, imagine when you've got the craziest, zaniest characters in part 5, and you say that they're dull, and they're crazier than Duke, but you love Duke in this one. It's just I'm trying to see where your head's at. Scenery chewing legend. He praised it. Whoever wrote this, they praised. We'll see who did this at the top of the article, but they praised Creighton Duke. So even though this one's coming at number 11, they didn't really trash it. Let's go to number 10. Whoa. Part 6? Oh my God. Part 6? You gotta be kidding me. All right, this is a first. I have never seen somebody put part 6 this low. Holy shit. Oh. As of this movie, Jason made the transition from a tough dude with a weird head to a supernaturally powered undead zombie hero. Tommy Jarvis, Corey Feldman's character from the final chapter, finds Jason's grave and wants to make sure he is dead, but in doing so, he accidentally sends a bolt of lightning into him, Back to the Future style, and resurrects our favorite killer. The movie settles into familiar territory after that, but those first few minutes are absolutely wild. So they're saying that the movie essentially feels dull and standard besides the intro, when nothing could be further from the truth, in my opinion. I think part 6 is... I have come around on part 6 so much over the years, and to be fair, my gripes in the beginning were ridiculous gripes to begin with. My gripes in the beginning were that this movie essentially wasn't scary, and he wore gloves. That was really it. But in actuality, this movie was vastly, vastly ahead of its time, in my opinion. The soundtrack is to die for. The characters are some of the most memorable. And honestly, it's just like, what? I can't... Part 6 at number 10? Holy shit. This is like the fan favorite. I don't know what to say. Let's see what number 9 is. They have Friday the 13th, 2009 over Jason Lives. All right, let's see what they say. Of all the modern reboots of classic horror franchises, Friday the 13th actually fares the best. Wow, I actually agree. Okay, I agree with this. I have said that I think that Friday 09 has aged better than both Halloweens, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Nightmare on Elm Street. I agree with that. Maybe I should work for Entertainment Weekly. Like a Nightmare on Elm Street and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre before it, it's hurt by the fact that everything looks a little too polished. Wow, that's actually a very fair criticism, I think. But the violence is top-notch, and Derek Mears makes for a wonderfully menacing Jason. Entertainment Weekly, we're back on track. I agree with Entertainment Weekly on their assessment of 09. The placement is probably a little bit low for me. I think 09 would probably be around 7 for me. You know, There you have it. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, I am trying to figure out why we haven't seen Jason Takes Manhattan yet. Okay, because we're looking at the New Blood. Somebody at Entertainment Weekly has the New Blood below Jason Takes Manhattan. I don't know. We're throwing the playbook out on this. We are completely throwing the playbook out on this because I don't know where they're going. I have no idea where Entertainment Weekly is going. Okay, number 8, Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, which, listen, I love Jason Takes Manhattan, but The New Blood is a legitimately great slasher film. Not in just like a cheesy 80s way. I think it's legitimately good. Also known amongst fans as Carrie vs. Jason, this entry finds our slashing hero squaring off against a team with telekinesis. The mind power stuff makes for some cool effects, and for the first time, it actually seems like the person meant to defeat Jason actually has the ability to do so, which ratchets up the dramatic tension a bit and gets you invested in the telekinetic Tina Shepard. Also of interest, Tina's mom is played by actress Susan Blue, who did voices for basically every animated 80s TV series, and the true villain of the piece is the nefarious Dr. Cruz. Okay. Well, we'll see. At this point, they're just kind of praising the film. They're not really saying anything negative about it. You know? Wow. Jason, New Blood above Jason Takes... Watch Jason Takes Manhattan not even be number 7. Let's see, guys. Oh my god! Part 3 at numbers. What the dude, Entertainment Weekly is on drugs. Friday the 13th, Part 3 at number 7. We haven't seen Jason Takes Manhattan yet. People that love Jason Takes Manhattan are probably clapping right now. Notable for the introduction of the hockey mask and the fact that Jason fights a biker gang at one point. But this movie is really all about Shelley Finkelstein, who set the template for the annoying goofball outcast prankster character that tended to show up every other movie or so. It should also be noted that the 3D effects in this movie are terrible. Look out for the yo-yo coming at you. Okay, I'm going to be totally fair. Yeah, the 3D stuff isn't the best we've ever seen, especially in the 80s. I think it's better than Jaws 3D. Jaws 3D stuff is pathetic. And I actually felt like Amityville 3D actually set out to make a better movie rather than a 3D movie, where Part 3, I feel like they definitely wanted to do a good movie, and they succeeded, in my opinion. I think Part 3 is absolutely phenomenal, but they didn't go the extra effort to make the gags look more effective than they do. With that being said, I bet the yo-yo thing was probably kind of fun in the theater. But I feel like... So the thing about this, guys, and maybe y'all agree with me, I actually feel like putting the 3D gags against this movie is not really fair, especially when you're not watching it in that sense. But then again, if it affects your viewing experience, who am I to judge? Oh my god, number 7. We still have not seen Jason. Here I am. I love Jason Takes Manhattan, but come on, we should have seen it by now. Watch it not be next. Jason X at number 6. Jason X at number 6. With Jason theoretically eliminated, the producers of the franchise sent the series into a post-apocalyptic future where a team of students is excavating what is left of Earth and comes across a cryogenically preserved Jason X. Jason X has a wicked sense of humor, mostly manifesting in jokes about the future. There's a Hardened War veteran who talks about the Microsoft conflict. Apparently, hockey has been outlawed, and nobody knows what a bike is. There are so many peaks in this movie, from the bizarre S&M sequence, the self-aware death of the Sarge, the conversion from Jason to Uber Jason. Seriously, that's what they called him in the credits? Yeah, of course they did. And the holodeck-esque portion that sends Jason back to Crystal Lake to annihilate some topless ladies in sleeping bags. It's the best. It's interesting, right? Like, I agree with their assessment. But better than Jason Lives? Better than the New Blood? Right? It's just that this is the most interesting list I've seen so far, especially from like a major news article. Oh my god, what's next? Are we going to see Jason Takes Manhattan next? Let's see. There it is. Number 5, Jason Takes Manhattan. Dude, I can't believe that Jason Takes Manhattan is all the way up at number 5. Oh, let's see what they say. I'll admit that I'm probably, oh my God. I wasn't expecting this. I'll admit that I'm probably overrating this entry just a tad, as I can objectively acknowledge that this is a terribly made movie. It looks cheap, even by Friday the 13th standards. The characters' motivations make no sense. The title is something of a lie. And the ending is completely nonsensical. Still, it is wildly entertaining, mostly thanks to a cheeky sense of humor about the Jason character. I mean, I can't wait to see what the people say about this. They actually have a very fair assessment of the film. I don't know how you put this over. Who am I to say? So many people love Jason Takes Manhattan. Who knows anymore? What's next? We still haven't seen the original, which is good for me. Oh, God. See, this is where they lose me. Freddy vs. Jason at number 4. Holy shit. Oh, man, how I love Freddy vs. Jason. It's more of an action movie than a horror flick, but seeing Jason square off against the icon of the Nightmare on Elm Street series is deeply satisfying. The balance between the two titular characters is stellar, and it introduces a little bit more mythology without getting too bogged down by it. Mostly, it expresses Jason's immortality in one scene better than Jason Goes to Hell did in 90 minutes. I would argue that's not true. Also, an oft-forgotten detail, Kelly Rowland is in this, making it the best film to feature a former member of Destiny's Child. Take that, Dreamgirls. Yeah, but you don't get it, though. Like, that's not something to... I mean, I know that that's probably... I'm gonna give the writer of this the benefit of the doubt that they're just adding that in as a fun little tidbit or a joke. I'm not saying that they're putting that into their ranking, but nobody wants to see these people in these films. They don't want the musicians in these movies because it feels like it's needed to get people to go to the movies. No. People were going to this movie to see Freddy vs. Jason. I don't think one penny would have been lost had Kelly not been in this. No disrespect to her. It's not about her. I mean, Busta Rhymes was not needed in Resurrection. The list goes on. It was like a trendy thing, I guess. Oh, God, what's next? Number 4, Freddy vs. Jason. The original, number 3, I actually am happy to see this be very, very high. My ranking for the original is actually fairly similar. The original still packs a punch, and it's remarkable how well it holds up, even though everybody in the universe knows the twist at the end. That is probably one of the truest statements I've ever heard, that I do think the film holds up. One of the most rewatchable films with a huge twist. Though it all moves seems cliche now, the movie set the template for a decade's worth of cheap, reliably entertaining slasher flicks. What stands out all these years later is the fact that the movie carries so much tension. Even though none of the characters know anything is even wrong until there are about 10 minutes left. That's a pretty impressive feat of cinematic trickery. God, that is true. This may be one of the best descriptors of the film I've ever read. I got to give credit. That is a very well descriptor of Friday the 13th. I agree with that. That means number 2 has to be part 2. Wow, I guessed it right. The first sequel actually makes the first appearance of grown-up Jason Voorhees and sets the character's template for the rest of the franchise's run. Part 2 is a little shaggy, but has a pretty sweet case of victims, including the returning bicycle and cursed enthusiast Crazy Ralph. Plus, this movie is where Jason wears a burlap sack over his face. Not as badass as the hockey mask, but still pretty sweet. And number 1 has to be, which I agree with this, the final chapter. The 4th film in the series is its absolute peak. It has a super bizarre cast, including Corey Feldman in his first film appearance as breakdancing Crispin Glover and hulking stuntman Ted White as Jason. It contains a ton of good stunts, some truly bizarre psychosexual subtext, and a bunch of neat kills. Glover's end is particularly gnarly. It is a great, yeah. It also works as a satisfying narrative if you're into that sort of thing. See, whoever wrote this actually said a lot of stuff that, I'd have a beer with this person. And contains one of the series' strangest fringe characters in the morgue, attendant Axel, who is described by a nurse as the Super Bowl of self-abuse, whatever that means. I agree. Okay, I never knew what the fuck that meant either. The Super Bowl of self-abuse. That makes no sense to me. Oh, man. This was by Kyle Anderson. Kyle. This was on October 12th, 2023. Kyle, your list was very, very interesting. Let me close this out. Your list was very, very interesting, Kyle. I give you your due. Your list on paper if you just were going to look at it, it does seem pretty gnarly and pretty wacky. But you seem like a guy that has a good time. I would implore you, Kyle, if you see this video, to give Part 5 a watch for its sheer entertainment value. But that was pretty fun, guys. I think we should do this for more movies and see what these big sites have for these, because it's always interesting to see what gets done for like Entertainment Weekly, maybe even Time Magazine if they did Halloween or something. I think that'd be fun to do. I enjoyed this, so hopefully you guys do. If you like this, let me know. I would love to do some of these, some more of these. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.